growing up as a young person, you felt that's what you really wanted to get into?
No. Growing up, I always wanted to be a lawyer. That was my goal. But after being a victim, as I said, of child sexual abuse, I realized there was no avenues for other victims like myself. And that's when I had the change in terms of my career path. I believe that my story, I could have used myself, my experiences to empower others. Hence, I decided to add to my theoretical knowledge by pursuing my studies in the social science area.
So, what advice would you give to parents and guardians of young children in today's society?
My advice would be to build a healthy relationship. Have a relationship where your child or your children would feel free to come to you. We live in a society that is, social media is the new goal. Students are, students, I'm a teacher, so I'm out.
Indeed.
Children are shaped more by the social media, the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok. So we have seen a decrease in the roles that parents actually play in their children's lives. So I think we need to go back to the days where we had more close-knitted relationship, parent to child, that is. One of the issues or the factors, the variables, to me, in my opinion, that helps perpetrate the whole sexual abuse phenomenon is the reluctance of parents to believe in their children. Some parents are always of the opinion that the child is not telling the truth or the child is not having his or her way. So they dismiss the claims of, the abuse and what children are going through. I don't think any child will willfully just come up and say, well, I'm being abused by my father or I'm being abused by my stepfather. My advice to parents would be investigate and regret after than not take any actions and leave it as be, because a broken child would only continue to form the reflection of a broken society. And I know we live in a society where we focus a lot on the economics, we focus on tourism, but the social issues that exist, if we don't put effort or we don't focus on them, it could have a negative effect on the economics, because when persons are not healthy socially or psychologically, they are unable to contribute economically. They are unable to make that positive contribution towards the economic development of our country. So parents have a rather important role to play, and we need to remember as parents, because I'm a mother myself, we are and we will continue to be the primary agent for socialization. Now is not the time to let the media or the peers or any other agents take that role from us.
Yeah, absolutely so indeed. And what advice, therefore, would you give to teachers and principals in the learning environment of young kids?
Okay, so as it relates to the topic that we're discussing, right?
On the same matter.
So one of the laws, we have mandatory reporting. So if a teacher or a guardian is aware that a child is being abused, they have a duty or responsibility to report. A teacher's role goes beyond teaching. As teachers, we're supposed to be empathetic. And in being empathetic, it would help us identify the needs of our students. So I would use a personal reference. When I was a victim of abuse, I became rebellious. And some people saw it as rude. But as a child, sometimes you don't always find the right words to communicate. So sometimes action speaks a little bit louder. And I remember in school I was quite defiant, but I didn't want to be defiant. I wanted someone to ask, well, Sabrina or Michelle, what's wrong with you? But that didn't happen. Instead, I was labeled. So sometimes when we see children exhibiting negative behaviors, it's just an opportunity or an avenue for us to ask questions and to, to understand where it is they're coming from. And in understanding, we would sometimes get to realize that they are going through things that they should not be going through.
Absolutely. Having said this, therefore, do we have adequate child psychologists in schools to assist principals and teachers?
I don't think so. Again, I don't think, not just Grenada, the Caribbean, we don't place enough emphasis on these social issues. We live in a society where even going to the counselor, persons are referred to as being crazy or mad. Cool. So there is, right. So there is this stigma. Yeah. And that is what we, as the women's arm, we are trying so hard to get rid of.
Definitely. Now, how does our legal system work towards alleviating and dealing with some of these issues that pop up in our court system? So are you satisfied that we are on top of the game?
I think some amendments were made in 2017. The laws are there. Sometimes it boils down to being enforced, and that's the issue. But in recent times, I think I've seen instances where it has been enforced. We still have a lot to do, but I think we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great, because I've heard of a story a few years ago where a certain police officer was asked to intervene in an abuse situation in a home with a wife and husband. And he just turned away and said, well, the husband and wife issue. I hope we're not having much more of this type of assessment of situations, for example, the abuse of women and now abuse of children, so forth.
I think when it comes to the abuse of women, that is a notion. Oh, I'm not going to meddle because she's going to go back. But then some people go back not because they want to, but because they don't have a choice. And I say this to me, so I'll just give an example if I'm allowed to. A woman is being beaten, but the man is providing her with a home, he takes care of her children, she has 3 square meals a day. She goes into the system, and the system is only offering counseling. So sometimes she has that desire to leave, but would she be able to survive on just counseling? And I think that's where collaborative effort, working together. I think, like, for example, the different ministries, if someone go into the Ministry of Social Development with an issue like this, then social development should have a relationship with the Ministry of Youth, where you have an Imani program. So you could say, okay, listen, I have this person who is a victim of domestic violence. Can you put them on the Imani program so at least they can be empowered to receive a stipend or a salary where they would be able to take care of themselves instead of just putting them back in the home where, if you give them counseling, obviously they will go back to the home and the cycle will continue. So what needs to be done is we need a lot of empowerment for our women, so that they would be able to stand on their own 2 feet and not accept the abuse that is meted out onto them, because nobody wants to remain in an abusive relationship or an abusive situation. But at the end, there are other variables, and sometimes the other variables outweighs. They want to leave, but if they leave, would you be better off or worse off?
Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place situation. Yeah, wow. It is becoming more and more prevalent in the entire Caribbean, and I would say the world, that ministries of social services are now attracting the largest sums on budgets to deal with the massive social problems that society is now facing. Man, woman, child. And every time you turn on the news in the United States, some kids got shot I mean, just this morning I'm looking at a youth, 20 kids in some youth party got shot because of psychological problems young people seem to be facing today.
Right.
And it has escalated to the point whereby people are just not sure what to do anymore.
Yeah, but then it takes more of a holistic approach to deal with these issues, because sometimes we see these issues, the social ills, manifesting themselves in our society, and we tend to deal with the branches instead of really going down and looking at the root, like what is the cause. So unless we understand the cause, we would keep treating the symptoms that we see and not understanding the real issue. So I think it goes back to that, and taking a holistic approach. Sometimes the education don't work for itself. The social net programs would not work for themselves. So instead of, we have to see a lot of interrelations within the different ministries and even within society and a whole, because we are our brother's keeper, and we should continue to be our brother's keeper.
Now, it would appear that gone are the days when it was said that the community raises the child. Now, that seems to be out of the window.
It is.
And if you touch my child, I'm coming at you, and that kind of attitude seem to have made its way into the school system, where a parent may come in and want to abuse the teacher because the teacher may have disciplined his child. How do we correct these situations and try to bring about some sort of understanding?
Well, I don't want to sound any way, but I think a lot of parents, they don't understand their role, and I don't blame them. So maybe we need to start at that level where we empower, where we counsel, where we reintroduce or re-educate them on what it is to be a parent, and to let them see the negative impact of the negative reinforcement. Because if your child do something wrong in school and they're being corrected, and you go to the school, you start a brawl, you fight, that child now feels empowered. No teacher can talk to me, because if any teacher talk to me, or if any teacher correct me, then my mother would come to the school. And that to me is a recipe for disaster. So again, as parents, we just, and it's like there's so many, I don't even know if half an hour is enough to speak about this, because there are so many layers to the issues that exist. And if, I don't know, we need to find ways, very creative, and we live in a creative and an innovative society. So we need to find creative and innovative ways to deal with these issues. What we were using 15 years ago, to me, is very much outdated. So now is the time to revise, revamp, and put new policies in place to deal and treat with these issues. Because no teacher should feel so empowered to step into a school and think they could be abusive to a teacher, someone who has a responsibility and is tasked with taking care of your child, educating your child. And children spend more time in the school than they spend home. So how can you, in your right mind as a parent, think that doing that is okay? It speaks to something that is really deeper. And again, we have to find the why. Why are they empowered to do so?
Do you think that teachers today are no longer respected and admired as was in the past?
I think respect in general is out the door, and not just teachers. I think with technology, you would think that we would become more efficient, more effective, we would do things, better. But I don't think that is happening. I think social media, again, too, has created the avenue where we feel, we could disrespect teachers, we could not regard their efforts and things like that. So no, I don't think teachers are regarded anymore.
Wow. It means, therefore, that teachers are going to work almost feeling scared.
Well, it's
Because you don't know what disruption you'll get when you get into class and who is going to come because of some complaint some kid makes to his father and he's coming down with a cutlass and it really becomes real scary.
It does. It does, and that's where we start. The building of relationships, I think, is important. So the schools, the parents, they should have foster better relationship. That way, where there is communication, you have less of these things taking place.
But how can society now play its role? What should they be looking out for? What should they be reporting? What should they be saying to parents if they see a certain behavior pattern of a child and they know the parent? How should the public really deal with these situations?
Well, to deal with it, I believe you must first understand it. In understanding it, we can't just make assumptions. I think we would need to do research, whether it's focus group, whether it's surveys, to look at the correlation and the causation between the what is taking place. And in so doing, that's when we'll be able to have suggestions as to how we would treat and how we would go forward. Because again, as I said earlier, we cannot continue to use the same policies of the past to deal with issues in the 21st century. They're not the same. They wouldn't be effective. So research is important. We need to find out why. And in finding out why, then we would be able to address the issue.
All right. So where do we start?
With research.
Okay. Research is
okay,
important.
so for example.
But in carrying out the research, you need competent individuals who are qualified in that area to determine where they're going and what they're searching for.
Well, we could start where we are, So, for example, we look at the cases where parents who created a feud with the teachers. We start with them. We've tried to find out, okay, what are the reasons? Do we see any patterns? Is there anything that is correlating? And maybe we start from there. But in the meanwhile, we need to continue, as I said, to be each other's keeper. And as adults, we need to also communicate. If something goes wrong, don't always be quick to, get into a fit of anger and think you have to react negatively. Use your adult senses. As adults, you're supposed to be thinking logically. So use that sense of logics and make better decisions.
Yeah, well, it tells me, therefore, that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Social Services need to be getting a fatter chunk of the budget and dealing with these social ills, because it tells me that maybe each school needs a guidance counselor or a child psychologist to deal and understand the various complexities that exist in the various schools. And we have a lot of schools over Grenada. A lot of schools. So it means a fat budget is required in order to deal with that, because the price society would pay later on down the road is much, much more than employing the right, persons to help deal with these growing problems.
And another thing is that the counselors need to also show that they can be trusted, because most time you speak to children and they say, you know what, I'd rather not go to a counselor, because if I go to a counselor, the whole school going to know my business.
Lord.
So that again
that's a serious problem.
That's something we need to treat with.
On this note, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back with you. Welcome back to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast this beautiful Sunday afternoon. And we're chatting child sexual abuse, women abuse in society. And to help with this conversation is Dr. Michelle Alexander. She is the PRO of the National Democratic Congress Women's Arm. So, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, the issue of adequate budgetary support for the ministries of education and social services is, it is growing throughout the Caribbean and I would say the world. You listen to the news, especially in the United States, there's constant battles going on with respect to gun regulations and so forth, and in school kids are carrying guns and other offensive, weapons into school, and fights are breaking out. Something is happening in society, and I don't think it's just the food and the water that's causing it. Mm-hmm. There is obviously a great breakdown in values, mm-hmm. and therefore it's spilling over. Mm-hmm. And that spillover is being, I would say, eaten up by the children, and they don't know how to process that meal that they are receiving. Mm-hmm. We may be getting a lesser bit of it in the Caribbean, because we have more of an interactive society, but we ought not to leave it unchecked.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's going to get out of hand.
Right.
So, what would be your recommendations to the government of Grenada in helping to arrest this situation? I mean, it's something that has been boiling for years and years, and we need to try to see how we can ease the tension a little bit.
Okay, so my recommendation first is it would be to empower and to educate. Some people, like, okay, for example, we were seeing the moral decay, but to some persons it's not even moral decay. To
It's
them,
a norm, eh?
it's a norm.
Oh, Lord.
Right. So we need to get to a place where persons are better able to understand their rules. And in understanding their rules, one of the things that can be done is to educate. So, for example, I am the founder of the Bridge Learning Institute. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we offer free education to adults who weren't able to complete their secondary and tertiary level education.
Yeah, congratulations.
When we started out in 2019, to me, I thought we were going to have like just 50 persons showing interest. But within the first year, we had over 300 adults.
Wow.
Signing up to do the subjects. To date, we have over 1,500.
Wow.
And in doing my research, I got to realize that there are 37.7% based on the information from the statistics office. These are individuals, they weren't able to finish primary, secondary, and tertiary level education. And whether we want to accept it or not, there is a link. There is a link between person's educational level and the way they tend to treat or to react to the situations in which they face. Another suggestion I would make is for the different ministries to collaborate. We live in a society where we think it's all about competition and we don't appreciate the need for collaboration. The Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Social Development, to me, these are ministries that should be working very closely together so that, these issues that we're speaking about can be addressed in a way that would benefit the wider society. Another thing is the other agents of socialization. So the church, the family, they all need to come together and play their role. Parents also limit your child access to what they are exposed to. Sometimes I had TikTok on my phone and I had to uninstall it because when I enter, some of the things I saw, even as an adult, it was troubling to me. And I have nieces and other children that, sometimes is in my care, and I see how regular they use TikTok. So if they are exposed at such a young age to these
Yeah.
materials, it can be damaging. So I believe that, we all, not in isolation, but through collaboration, have a role to play, and we must play that role to the best of our ability.
Well, I mean, I again want to extend my congratulations to you on this organization which you have championed. And are you taking it forward, or are you expanding? You receiving new applications? What is the situation?
So we continue to go forward. So let me just give you a little brief. In our first year, we sent 157 adults. 137 was successful. We had a pass rate about 86.5%. Last year, we sent over 200, and 192 was successful. This year, we're sending 380, and we're
And
already
you're sending them where?
to write CXC
To
and
write
CAPE.
CXC and CAPE.
And this, well, we have started a registration for our new cohort. So the classes are free, but student has to contribute towards the SB. So they pay $20 or $30 per month per subject, so that we could print materials, get this stuff uploaded. We have received support from the Ministry of Youth in terms of our graduation. So we've been trying to see how we too can play our part in changing the socioeconomic dynamics.
Are you receiving a subvention from government?
Not yet, but I believe we would in the future.
Well, this is your opportunity to make your pitch.
I think we have a government that is placing a lot of emphasis on education. So
Yeah, absolutely. So indeed, I remember during the reign of the PRG government, the former Minister for Education, Jacqueline Kreff, was very big on ensuring that individuals have the ability, those who can't or couldn't read and write, to get that training all over the island. And that was a main feature of the PRG, the revolutionary government. And it seems as though you have taken on single-handedly part of this portfolio.
it's not just me. So it's myself, and we have a group of other volunteer tutors who really give up their time. And
Okay. So if someone listening today would like to be part of what you are offering, what do they do?
so they can send us a message on Facebook on Bridge Learning Institute, or they can send a WhatsApp message on 421-8122. So that's 421-8122.
Or they can reach you on Facebook, Bridge Learning.
Institute.
Yeah. Would you say that as you interact with a lot of these folks, that they have the ability or capacity to go online?
So most of so all our classes are done online. The beautiful thing is what I was able to realize by just having that program is not that persons don't want to be educated. Is one of the what kept them back is the lack of the avenues, because in 9 months we just do 9 months. So we start classes in like June or September, they write the exam in May, June, and they're able to do very well for themselves. We have persons in the past who were able to go to TAMCC and will be graduating. There were teachers who were trainees. They lacked the maths, they didn't have the maths, they didn't have the English, but now they have the maths and the English. They are now able to secure better jobs. They're able to pay taxes. So even through the addressing the sociological issues or the social ills, when they become empowered, they make a positive contribution towards the economics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So
and it's done online, so it's convenient. So we have persons from the whole trial and Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. All they need to do is logging.
all right. And do you do any local promotion on radio, television, or just on Facebook?
No, we don't. Just on Facebook.
But yet still you have 1,500 participants.
Thus far, from 2020 to now.
Well, the word certainly gets around. And this is an opportunity for anyone out there listening to the Heartbeat to, and they think that they would need this training, that they can make contact 421-8122.
That's correct.
Yeah, 421-8122. Make sure you take a note of that number in case you think you may, have a need to lift your educational standard. And does it only apply to individuals at the level of which you spoke?
Adults, we cater for adults.
All right. So from what's the minimum age?
So when we say adults, or persons who are out of school and have that passion or desire to add value to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And where is the learning stationed?
So all our classes are done online.
Oh, online, right.
But we
so
operate from
physical...
we have an office on Sendall Street, and we operate sometimes from Photomax in St. George's. So that's where persons could come and get registered and get additional information.
Right. So Photomax in St. George's, you want to explain exactly where that is?
On St. John Street.
Mm-hmm.
And Sendall Street in St. Andrews. So Sendall Street would be it's the orange building right close to Hotspot, the only orange building upstairs.
Okay. All right. So at least you have St. Andrews covered and St. George covered. And the number of volunteer teachers you have, how many?
22.
22. And they come mainly from where? St. Andrew area or all over Grenada?
There are some in Grenada, Carriacou. We have one from St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're all over.
So they participate.
So different parishes.
So would you say that you need more volunteer teachers, or are you okay with that number?
I would say that we need more because different persons have different learning style, and everybody is not at the same level. So some persons may need additional tutoring as compared to others. But sometimes we have one tutor, for example, in the maths, and he's really stretching himself, but he does an amazing job. So outside of his 3 scheduled class days or 2 scheduled class days, he usually meets on Sundays with persons who are not understanding.
Wow. So the areas of study, maths and English.
We offer 15 subjects
15
on the CSCC level.
Like the university you have.
And 8 keeps. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The first time I'm hearing of this initiative, I would admit. But this is great. This will do wonders for society and help to build stronger, families and so forth, stronger society, and contributes to the economy of the country.
Very much so.
All right. Well, as we come to the close of this interview, are there any parting words you'd like to share?
I would like to make a call on women in our society to feel free to join the Women's Arm as we continue to take our country forward. There are a lot of amazing things we have planned that we would be doing. So we would have coming up, we have a discussion around business that would take part in St. Patrick's. We have a number of prayer breakfasts that we are also planning, but we need the participants. We need the involvement of our women. So feel free to, we have a Facebook page as well, NDC's Women's Arm. You can follow us. You can send us a message indicating your interests, and we will take it from there.
Great, wonderful. The Women's Arm is a great example to the party as to how you get things done.
Yes.
Power to the women. Absolutely. Well, we're actually waiting on our guests to join us, so we'd continue the chit chat, and but before we do so, we'll probably take a short break as a breather, and we'll just carry on talking about wonderful things that you're doing, and looking after the young kids in society and how we can really bring attention to their issues. So back with you in a short moment. Welcome back to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. Again, we welcome those on WeFM, Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio, and those who are on the Facebook page. Please remember to share the live. We're chatting today with Dr. Michelle Alexander, and we really looking at so many different issues affecting society where child abuse is concerned, and also women's abuse. And now she has interjected the assistance being given to adults who need educational assistance, reading, writing, math, 15 subject areas. And she has over 1,500 participants. Sounds like a university in the making. Yeah. Well, I wish we could continue chatting, but my next guest is just right upon us now. So let me give you your final closing parting words.
So thank you for having me. And again, I just want to make the appeal to women to join the women's arm. Stop sitting and say, well, nothing is being done. Be a part of the change you want to see. All is welcome. Again, just send us a message and we will take it from there.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being on Heartbeat today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Dr. Michelle Alexander. She is certainly quite a fighter on the women's arm, joined with the President Hillary Alexander. Are you all related by any chance?
No, we're not.
No relationship. Well, congratulations to the women's arm. You all are doing a great job, and good luck. Okay, so we'll be back in just a moment as we introduce our next guest, who is Dr. Curlin Gilchrist. We'll be chatting about bi-monthly payment, which rolled out just recently on Friday, and also on the issue of minimum wage. So back with you in a short while. Welcome back. Welcome back to all our listeners and viewers. We have now on the set Dr. Curlin Gilchrist. Welcome to Heartbeat once again.
Thanks a million.
You are no stranger to the set. And tell us quickly, because we're almost out of time, the bi-monthly wage payment arrangement kicked off on Friday. How did that go?
Yes, I mean, as from all indication, it went well.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to a number of recipients of that money,
Mm-hmm.
and they were happy. They said they have more money to spend now. So on the 15th of the month, they are not going to run into crediting out about the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
They now have other cash, but they caution that they are aware that they need to manage their money properly and carefully. So in that sense, it has achieved its objective.
Would you stick a pin? Would you say that was partly responsible in some way for this sellout of that show last night in the stadium?
Well, one could never tell. There was cash around, and I don't know if the promoters timed it well.
Well, maybe so indeed.
Yeah, but I must say that was excellent, and we are privileged for all and thankful for all the inducement into the circulation of money and economic activity. We just have to get the country going, get people spending money, put money in people's pockets, and I think all shall be well.
All right. So what would you say would be some of the immediate impacts that we should look out for?
Right. So the immediate impact, one, is to see businesses more busier. Yeah. So if you look around in the shops and so on, we should see more customers around. These are visible signs of people using the cash now to make purchases.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, the lines at the ATM would be long.
Uh-huh.
I was in Grenville on Saturday yesterday, and the lines are very long. People are accessing their cash. That's my interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So long lines at the ATM, you would see that, and place get a little bit busy. I know for the week
Right.
until that cash run out, and you wait for the next tranche, right?
All right.
Yeah, but it's great because Terry, in the past we depend on those hyping economic activity based on the nutmegs
Right.
and the banana, and
Seasonal stuff.
we miss those injection, right?
Yes.
You need something fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this kind of simulates what usually happens when, in the traditional sector where you used to have the nutmeg bonuses and banana and the cocoa and those payouts every week.
Yeah.
You see activity.
That's right.
And I think it mirrors that, and that's great.
Yeah.
I want to, and I anticipate that maybe other statutory bodies may follow suit and introduce the bi-monthly. You're a monthly worker. You just pay it twice a month.
Right.
Yeah. So I anticipate that. So the takeaway from that initiative by the government really is the circulation of money.
Right.
I think that's the takeaway. I mean, I know the other benefit people speak about it in terms of savings on the mortgage especially. But that savings can only be realized over time.
Right.
Right? Over time, not immediate. You will only see the benefit over the entire period of the loan.
Right.
Yeah, other loans, maybe they have different arrangement, But I think the greatest impact is the increase in circulation of money. We're talking about what? 15 million?
Oh, that's
20 million?
a small society. That's
Yes,
a tidy sum.
that's a tidy sum.
Yeah,
Which other injection you're
sum.
going to get there?
Yeah.
So that's great, and I hope that that's a fresh approach, to reactivating life in the economy.
Right, definitely. Now, in the event someone has maybe a question or two with respect to the process, how can they get these answered?
Yes,
questions answered?
the Ministry of Finance website have a set of question and answer, common questions and answer, but they can call the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
And I mean 4402731.
4402731,
that's
Ministry of Finance. They could call to get
call and ask,
If
and
they wish to go online, what do they do?
yeah, they go, there's a website,
Okay.
they could go online and so I think is great. Yeah, coming towards and that is taking place just before the next burst of activity.
Right.
We are in what, April?
Mm-hmm.
The next big one is what? Carnival season, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that's great. I think that's great. Terry, I find you look happy,
Yeah, man. Of course.
Yeah, you look happy.
Things are circulating.
Yeah, you look happy.
Things are circulating, and now you are heading the committee on minimum wage. So then that's great.
Well, Terry, that as I move around the country, championing that cause, more and more I realize that in alignment with the vision of the party to create wealth and for people to live healthy lifestyle, we have to raise the standard of payment.
Yep.
And what we are seeking to do is to raise people's self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And as Bob Marley said, equal right and justice. So we say minimum wage.
Yeah.
Some others have been tempted to say a living wage, but I don't want to go there yet because the concept of living, and you and I know what happened with living, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it more looking like a just wage.
Yeah.
What is just and equitable for someone's sweat? Yeah? Not that we don't...
Comfortable survival.
Yeah, so we are good employers. But the purpose of this law really is to protect employees from employers who may what?
Abuse them. Take
Who may
advantage.
abuse them or take advantage. So it's a protection in law, against those. But we do know that, the market demand and supply scarcity will fix the wage.
We will want to highlight that comment which you just made, but as we approach 1 p.m., there are radio stations who may wish to go on to other programming. So I just want to let them know that we are continuing for another 10 minutes, which will be online. And for any of the stations covering this program, if they wish to continue, well, then we're happy for them to do so. But for those who have to leave, we thank them and their listeners for joining the Heartbeat today. And we will be continuing for another 10 minutes on this subject matter of bi-monthly payment and also minimum wage discussion. So coming back to the issue of minimum wage and employers who may wish to take advantage of employees, you're saying that the law is now in place to protect employees from unscrupulous employers who may wish to take advantage.
And that's
Tell
correct.
us about that law.
And that's correct. And one of the messaging we are carrying as we go to the town hall meetings is to encourage employees to be as productive as they can.
They have a responsibility.
They have a
True.
responsibility. So it's not a free lunch. Yeah. And also all the labor issues surrounding minimum wage. We also have with us on the consultation the officials from the Ministry of Labor. So they are there to hear the views, because you see, there are other issues that come with minimum wage, yeah?
Right.
All right, in terms of employee terms and condition of employment and so on, and complaints and so. It's a nice package we are getting while we are seeking the minimum wage adjustment. There are other things we are benefiting, and one of the messages that we want to convey to all and sundry employers and employees, that there would be an enforcement mechanism associated with minimum wage. Yeah, and more as we get into the consultation, we'll be speaking to those things. What happens if there's a breach?
Yeah.
What happens if an employer refuses to comply? Yeah. What recourse do the employee has, and how confidential is that line of informing and making inquiries with the Ministry of Labor? Yeah. So the Ministry of Labor is confidential. Right. So there is no fear of reprisal from an employee who takes action. You can, if you feel you are being paid less than the minimum wage, you can approach the ministry and lodge a complaint, and that will be secured and confidential.
Right.
Yeah.
And that minimum wage has not yet been finalized, is it?
Right. So here what? At the moment, there is existing minimum wage in place. Yeah. For example, a security guard should get at least $8 per hour. What we are doing now is adjusting that upwards, because the existing minimum wage legislation and order specifying rates for certain occupation has been existent since 2011. Yeah, so it's over 10 years now.
Was it the last time minimum wage was addressed in 2011 or?
2011 came into effect 2012. And we are in 2022 now.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what happened to cost of living? Cost of living has really spiked. 15% and increasing cumulatively over the 10 years, right? And it's a different economy now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what kind of collaborative support are you getting from the unions? Because this sounds like something the unions should be championing, but government is championing that initiative.
Yes, it's here, and the government has to intervene, unfortunately, because not all employees are unionized.
True.
So we find that most of what we are doing, that category of workers not captured by union, we are looking after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like farm workers and so forth.
Yeah, they're not captured because there are certain sectors, I don't want to be too specific here, but there are sectors and industries where you hardly find workers being unionized. Yeah.
Right. So
and
they have
therefore
no
there's protection of the law.
Yeah.
You see, and it's also good for foreign investors that when they approach the country, at least they know the minimum wages that are payable to the citizens of that country. So it's good, and this information will get out. As soon as we settle on the minimum wage, a campaign of public education and has to begin, because every investors, employers, employees, everybody need to know what the wages are legally that should be paid. That's minimum, and we don't expect employees to stay at the minimum for long. It's just an entry level position.
Right. So that is just to say you can't step below this figure.
No.
But you're free to go above based on the experience and
training
whatever
and all
the
that
person
can
has.
move up the ladder.
Yes.
So it's not a permanent position. I always tell employees, It's just entry level.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on the occupation, the entry level is way above.
Mm-hmm.
There are sectors that, based on my investigation and and perusal, are paying way above the minimum wage.
Yeah.
So even what we are doing here may not affect certain sectors.
Yeah, because the wages
The
are already
wages are
above the minimum.
They are way above the
But the
minimum.
minimum is to protect everyone, to say, employer, you can't step underneath this X dollars per hour,
Yeah.
which is set.
Whether business is good or bad.
Yeah, that's the minimum.
High season or low season.
Yeah.
That's the minimum pay. But interestingly, in law, we are introducing some new categories now
Mm-hmm.
for the first time.
Oh.
Yeah. So the media industry,
Oh,
the media industry,
Right.
Yeah, the media
Mhm.
professionals. We are going to put that in law now to give them an entry because we want to promote that sector, that
Okay.
industry. So that's new. That's
because I don't think they were ever categorized as an industry.
No, but it's an industry now.
Oh, well, it is an
It's an
industry, yes.
industry now. So we are going to put that in law, and also the creative industry. There will be emerging activities now, new occupation.
Mm-hmm.
They need some protection. They
Yep.
need some encouragement, right? So as we speak to employers, I ask them, to tell me what are the emerging occupation now. This is an ever evolving economy.
Yeah.
Things are changing in the area of the IT. There are some new titles being emerging. Yeah. So we are asking people to tell us, so we could embrace them and make the law more relevant as we
Right.
as we adjust it for the year 2024. So hopefully by mid-year, and the minister responsible, Honorable Claudia Joseph, would be making an announcement.
Great. That's wonderful.
And we want to do it this year, but coming to effect next year. So employers have time to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have time to prepare for it.
But just listening to all the activities that have been taking place in Grenada by this government, it kind of feels as though 5 years is almost around the corner. But
Yeah,
it's not even 1 year yet.
exactly. So just imagine what will happen by year 2. Just year 1.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, just year 1.
It's going at a pace that is really unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is now. Tell us, with the advancement of artificial intelligence developing in the world today and impacting on employment, what kind of protection employees may have locally in Grenada if such AI services are introduced to the point whereby employees' positions may become redundant?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, and I think the emphasis, there's not much you can do except introduce an entire program of retooling and retraining and we have to acquire new skills. For example, I have acquired different skills over my lifetime as an employee.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we have to encourage people to multi-skill because the things are changing and there are new emerging rapidly. Yeah, but I must say, for my predecessor I was speaking just now, the education system had to put a lot of emphasis now on mathematics. Because when you move into IT and technology, logic
Yep.
and critical thinking becomes important. Yeah, reasoning.
Yep.
Yeah, so the games they give a young child has to help a young baby to think.
Yep.
I talk about from the cradle,
Solving issues, problems.
solving issues,
yeah.
solving problems. These critical thinking skills is important as we prepare for the information technology age. Very important.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
so indeed.
being smart, being smart, and of course a lot of stuff would fall in line. We have to re-engineer the entire tax system.
Yep.
Otherwise, you could stay here and make millions and nobody could touch you, right?
Yeah.
We have to find a way to re-engineer the tax system, and that is why the whole law and digital what is it again?
The digital economy.
It's important, and the protection, data protection.
Yep.
Yeah, and we move to information, all right, and all of that, and how you handle information. That's the power of the new age.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
right.
and therefore that will drive the economy,
Absolutely.
and therefore we have to prepare for that, and the tax system has to prepare for that, and we have to prepare for that. You and I.
So as it is now, you can remain right here in Grenada and craft out an industry for yourself, which can really bring you substantial earnings rather than hopping on an airplane
Thank you very much.
to head abroad and so forth. But the training of our young people need to be inculcated into their minds, like now.
Now is the time.
As usual, time keeps on
Yeah,
running away from
yeah,
us.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the essence of it. Is being conscious of time. Time is moving fast.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
For different services.
For defense services, the job that you do, are you being paid fairly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell us.
But this is an unusual initiative taken by a government.
Yeah.
Generally, you don't have government pushing this initiative. And it says something about the new and fresh thinking of this administration. It's about meeting the needs of the workers and ensuring that they're empowered financially and otherwise to be better and more productive citizens in society.
Let me quickly say, also we are partnering with the Food and Nutrition Council. So the food security, we'll do a presentation on that because we realize that we need to have a modern, updated, and relevant food security policy.
Oh yeah.
But the minimum wage is necessary.
Yep.
If you want to eat property, you must have the ability to acquire the food.
Yeah.
Not so?
Definitely.
So food security is embedded in the concept of you having a good minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
I'll beat you at the bottom of it there.
But yeah.
Otherwise you can't get, you're not secure in the food that you need in order to sustain a healthy lifestyle.
Yep. I mean, I would like us to get to the point in the near future where governments, for example, in one country in Europe, they actually pay workers to go on vacation.
Very good.
Say, you need vacation for your mental health.
Yeah, we're going to
I
get
am
there.
paying you your air ticket, your hotel, food, ground transportation. That is yours. Go build yourself psychologically and come back and be a much more productive worker. And it seems to be working well in that country in Europe. I think it's Sweden or one of them. It seems to be working wonders.
It will work.
Workers are coming back, and instead of 100%, they're giving out 1,000%.
That's great, Terry.
We'd love to start that in the Caribbean, right?
That's a good initiative.
I tell you. Anyhow,
Thank you very
it was
much.
great having you once again.
Yeah, thanks
And
Anita.
always a pleasure to have you on Heartbeat. We'll try and do it once again. Just remember, folks, there is a PAN event this afternoon at the Tantine, I think, basketball court. Yes, Tantine netball court at 5. Going out this afternoon from 5 p.m. Enjoy some great PAN and get refreshed in the music of the PAN. Well, it was great having you, Dr. Gilchrist, and my earlier guest, Dr. Michelle Alexander. We thank you all much for being on Heartbeat today, and to thank all of you who joined the program today. Have a great Sunday afternoon, and catch up with you again next week Sunday. Goodbye.